our intent here is to give you an understanding of the pathway to become a validated milling center, if that's a part of your organization's plan. And the most important thing with this is understanding not only what evo820 does and what Zahn has available for you, but what the FDA, what their guidance and their regulations are. And I had mentioned it earlier, is that if you don't have a plan, it's like any map will do. And we've been involved now for 7 years of working with dental laboratories who, with regard to their FDA compliance, a quality management system to assist them. And in the conversations with these many laboratory owners is that some have made some inappropriate changes as far as equipment and mixing and matching equipment that necessarily didn't work together. So this is where we can really help you. One is my background coming out of Glidewell, but many years working with dental laboratories. And of course, Zahn has the expertise here to help you put together a plan that best suits your operation, your dental laboratory, to become a dental, a validated milling center. So let me continue on with that, because what I really want to talk about, yes, is the EQMS. That is what we have just recently launched for the dental laboratory industry. And of course, the EQMS is, it's one of a kind. Everything else within the dental industry is analog. And I'm going to share a little bit of the differences between the two. And of course, we're trying to satisfy the FDA, and that is regarding Title 21 CFR Part 820. And that is the framework that all medical device manufacturers work under. And that is what we assist dental laboratories to do. For where it appropriately applies to them, we work with them to satisfy that. The other side of the QMS is the benefits of the best practices, because it will bring forward, because now having a digital version where you can sort, you can search, you can build reports, it gives you a clear understanding of where your weaknesses are within your operation that need to be addressed. But it also brings forward your best practices that you can share and kind of duplicate throughout your operation. All right, with that, let's really dig into the digital laboratory changes that kind of started everything with the FDA. One is the workflow. That changed, and that is what really started the FDA getting involved, because we have a different skill set with our dental laboratory. And part of that process when the FDA came forward is the confusion. And I talked to a lot of my clients, and I did a number of presentations that were titled Dazed and Confused. And does the FDA have you in a dazed and confused position? And we really want to understand that so we can really clarify this, because most people say it's clear as mud. And so the next few slides is we're going to address that. So please take the time just to fill up or get the yes or no on this and give us an idea where you are. And I'm going to continue to talk a little bit about some of those changes. And of course, we have a change in our workflow, but we also have change in our personnel. The skill set is completely different. We now have software that is incorporated into our workflow at a much deeper level. We have equipment that's involved with mills and 3D printers and furnaces and such. So we have all of that going on, as well as the materials that we're using. So with all of these changes happening, with all these changes in our manufacturing processes, can we really expect no change from the FDA? And that is what we really want to discuss. So as we look at our dental laboratory industry evolving, the FDA's dental division is also evolving. So let me ask Fran to come in and kind of give us some results if she has them yet.
I do have the results, Tim, and I just want to let you know that 100% of our attendees are confused with the FDA. So they are in the right webinar right now.
Okay, I really appreciate that information, because I'm going to, where I used to go somewhat fast through the FDA, I'm going to slow it down a little bit and be very clear of exactly where what you need to know to make some good decisions and to put the right plan together for your operation. So thank you very much for participating in that. And since you start with that, and you want to hear that information regarding the FDA, let's start clearing it up by bringing forward the FDA information. This is a slide that I received from the FDA, because it's best that you hear it directly from the FDA, not from me as my opinion of what the FDA thinks you should do. But here is what, when we look back at all of those changes with the equipment and software and personnel and all the things that we did, the FDA exemption that we're in, which I'm going to address, this is what really changed it. And the quality system regulation regarding finished devices. And with the FDA, the finished device means any device or accessory to any device that is suitable for use or capable of functioning, whether or not it is packaged, labeled, or sterilized. And so this speaks right to us because, of course, a lot of the devices that we're manufacturing are completely finished when we get them from the manufacturer, like a multi-unit abutment or a Zest anchor. So this is what makes it different, is that when we talk about the unfinished devices that you're working with compared to the finished devices, according to the FDA, because they're the ones who are giving us guidance now, is that tie bases and tie blanks are unfinished devices. And they are not finished devices until you, the dental laboratory, modifies the tie bases and tie blanks into deliverable completed restorations. So it doesn't matter what it is, if it's a single crown on a tie base or a full arch zirconia bridge on a tie base, or all on four on tie bases, or whatever it might be, or there's tie blanks that you've modified into custom abutments, that is when they become finished devices. And because that process results and occurs in your dental laboratory, you then become the finished device manufacturer. And that is why you need to become, the actual terminology is a contract manufacturer with the 510K holder of those devices. And in this case, that is DES. And we'll talk about a validated milling center in a second. But you can see below, all those are all considered finished devices by the FDA. Even though you are taking a handpiece to many of these and modifying them to accommodate soft tissue contours, occlusal heights, whatever it might be, that is still considered to be a finished device by the FDA, even though there's modifications being done in the laboratory, because they don't involve CAD or digital technologies. They don't go into a mill. It's all done by hand. So because of that, these devices fall under the FDA exemption for dental laboratories, which is, it's section 807.65, paragraph I, and that's the exemption that covers almost 90% of everything that you're doing. So when we're talking about becoming a validated milling center, it is specific to tie bases and tie blanks. Okay, I hope that brings a lot of clarity to why we got involved with this with the FDA and what their definition is. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask or chat them in to Fran, and she'll pass them on to me. Now, the next thing for us to discuss is to really understand not only the FDA requirements, but what is a closed system compared to an open system regarding custom abutment manufacturing options for you. And this is what you really need to know, because this is what's going to be dependent upon your decisions of becoming a validated milling center or remaining and within a closed system that doesn't require registering with the FDA, but does require a quality system. So are your intentions right now to become a validated milling center? And we just put a poll up for you to answer, and it's a simple yes or no. Again, you don't have to elaborate too much, but that information, again, just like your original information, is going to help me dramatically get into where to spend my time on these two options that now face you with DES and with Zahn. So take a couple minutes and just fill that out for me. I deeply appreciate it. And then we'll get the information when it's ready to go. because I think one of the things that we're going to talk about today, which is the closed system from DES, this is brand new. I mean, you're probably going to be one of the first lab owners to hear about this option with DES. It has come up quite March 11th, or I'm sorry, March 9th, and then we'll have an opportunity to go through that clearly. So when you're done with your, oh, okay. So let's get into this. What is a closed system? And this is the abutments for dental implants, specifically for CAD abutments for dental implants. And what is a closed system? So this is the DES. Look at the date on this. This was released on March 9th of 2023. And it is their new 510K. And I'm bringing this up to point out not only the March on how recent it is, but secondly, that this is a FDA cleared system that has a product code, which is NHA and PMP. NHA is just the implant supported abutment product code. PMP is the digital workflow. So this 510K has combined the two of them. Okay, so what does that mean? I understand. Okay, so let me get that information from Fran, if I could, on what your responses were to the poll.
Yes, Tim. So we have 33% of our attendees plan on becoming a validated milling center, and 67% are planning on not.
Okay, that's great. All right. So I think with the information you get, those 60+% that are not, I think you might find this solution as being an option for you. Because if it is the registration with the FDA that's keeping you out of the process of manufacturing custom abutments, this might be the route to go. But let me explain what the differences are between the two. All right, so we have this new 510K. And this is it. And it's important that I have this because once again, I want you to clearly understand the separation between the two. So I got to do a little reading, but bear with me. This is the instructions for use from the 510K that was submitted to the FDA that everyone has to follow because they are literally the guidelines from the FDA of what you can and can't do with these products under this 510K. And it is all digitally designed custom abutments for use with DES bases or pre-milled blanks are to be sent to a Terrence Medical Validated Milling Center for manufacture. Okay, that's the NHA, but here's the or part, which is important, or to be designed and manufactured according to the digital dentistry workflow. The digital dentistry workflow integrates multiple components, and we're going to get into that in a minute. I'm going to stop there, not read to you. But this is a very important aspect, and it's kind of the next step of what we have to consider. But what does that mean when there's a lot of multiple components involved? And so this is, again, the statement that goes deeper into clarifying that the integrated components are scan files or intraoral and lab desktop scanners, CAD software, CAM software, ceramic materials, milling machines, and associated tools, and what they are. All right, so this is where it comes down to defining exactly what you have to use within the closed system. Here is the material, is the Vita YZ material. And the cement, literally it gets right down to the cement. You've got to use the multi-link material from Vivadent. The intraoral scanners, it defines exactly what trios you need. When it comes to a desktop scanner, a 3-shape D900. So if you have any of the E series, that falls outside of this workflow, this validated workflow. The digital abutment design, you have to use 3-shape. And a milling machine, you have to use the VHF R5. So that is really constricting because basically what they're telling you is within that closed system, they dictate the equipment you must use. They dictate the materials you must use, and they dictate the components you must use. So please understand, yes, the advantage here is that you don't have to register with the FDA. Okay, that is the major difference. But you have to stay within this recipe of manufacturing, from equipment to materials to software, to remain compliant where you don't have to register. Now, I've stated before that I like to show you FDA slides and information. And even in this situation, I want you to read a response from a letter that I sent to the FDA, because I said, okay, what is a closed system? Do we have to have a quality management system? What's the deal? And this is from Andrew Steen. He is the acting assistant director in the implantable team, dental devices team with the FDA. All right. So this is the most important part. And you can read this up here. It's all about the NHA P&P 510K that I shared with you. But this is failure to follow the FDA cleared indications for use and device labeling as provided by the 510K holder of medical devices cleared under a P&P may result in the user becoming a medical device manufacturer, which may entail requirements for submitting their own 510K and registering and listing their facility for dental abutment manufacturing outside the scope of the medical device production. So that means if you're falling outside of that recipe that I shared with you, then you have the response, you could fall under the responsibility of having to get your own 510K. You have to register with the FDA. All of that comes with it. So that is why you need to have a quality management system, is you have to be able to demonstrate through proper documentation that you are staying within that, that recipe. You are following the closed system protocol. That's very important. Okay. If you have any questions on this, please text them in or chat them in to Ms. Fran, and I will address them. And we will have time at the end of this presentation, because the next step I go into is I want to talk about the open system. All right, the open digital workflow. And this is going to take us to the next level of the validated milling center, because the DES Open 510K is very similar. This goes back to March of 22, but you can see down here in the product code, it is only NHA. There's no P&P, which means that it is part of that validated process center, or validated milling process. So all digital abutments, custom abutments for use with DES bases or blanks are to be sent to a Terrence Medical validated milling center for manufacture. And all right, so this is once again going back to that unfinished device definition of tie bases and blanks not being completely finished and manufactured in the dental laboratory. That dental laboratory who's going through that process needs to be a validated milling center. And they need to register, and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go back to my buddy Andrew. I'm sorry, he's the assistant director and deserves that respect. Andrew Steen, same guy. And I sent him a letter. I said, what's a validated milling center? And he says, thank you for your email and questions. Validated milling center. And this is really important because he cleared it up a lot for me. Validated milling center is a dental implant abutment industry term for what the FDA considers to be a manufacturing partner, more aptly defined as a contract manufacturer. Like a contract manufacturer of any Class II medical device, a validated milling center is responsible for registering, listing of the facility and devices produced, as well as implementing a manufacturing procedure in line with the quality system regulations. Okay, now that is pretty clear. And many of you may be contract manufacturers for sleep appliance companies like Meyerson or Air Technology, something like that. But this is just a different term as a validated milling center is basically a contract manufacturer. All right. So what is really good about, and I'm going to go through other advantages of good, we're going through the digital workflow, is you can use any scanner. You can use any CAD software or any mix thereof equipment or any above mix. You can use any 3D printer. You can use any restorative material. It is clearly up to you now as a contract manufacturer to control exactly what you are doing within your dental laboratory. And this is why I brought up the benefits of being a validated milling center and working with Zahn and evo820, going back to my slide about having a plan, because Zahn does have a complete line of products, gives you a lot of variety to add into your laboratory if you're not complete. And this is also from evo820, where we've gone digital. So it's good at this point. So let me ask you, is that if you're planning on expanding your equipment for your digital workflow, please let us know. And we can talk to you either on evo820 side or on from Zahn, and provide you with the many options that will clearly fit into whatever plan you have, or assist you in constructing that plan to become a better digital, a better manufacturer, and always remain with the FDA with good quality equipment. So let us know. And I'm going to go back. When I first, I started this in 2007, and I'm going to talk about evo820s because I started this company when I was 60 and I was ready to retire. And one of the things I noted from my many years involved in regulatory is that many options that are out there for you to get a quality management system were quite expensive. I mean, they were between $30,000 and $60,000 to get a quality management system. And I thought that is extremely inappropriate for laboratories to face that high fee. So I started evo820, and I promised myself then I'll come up with a digital system that is affordable and practical. And that's what we did. And doing so, I attract the attention of Zahn, and they wanted to partner with us because they see that evo820 is really here to help the dental laboratory industry and not really be selfishly benefiting itself and charging $30,000. And we can talk about pricing anytime you so desire. But okay, I'm sorry, Fran, I was talking too much. Please give me the responses that you got from yours.
Of course. So 67% of our attendees are saying yes, that they definitely want to expand their digital workflows. And 100% are saying they would like to add a 3D printer. So how does that work with evo820?
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, boy, talk about changes. When going back to one of those first slides of the changes that we're seeing in equipment and 3D printing, that technology is changing so fast where we're printing metals and we're printing glass and zirconias. I mean, it's amazing. But also with that, I'll tell you just from a background of my experiences, I'm getting off script here. But last year, I received several surveys from the FDA and asked about the activities that are taking place in the dental laboratory regarding additive manufacturing. And it's nice of them to ask my opinion, and they did ask other people within the industry. It wasn't just me. But what that tells me is that the FDA is doing an investigation to add more, or to gain more understanding and probably add more regulations regarding this side of the business, the additive manufacturing. Okay. So this is one of the things I want to talk about, is the benefit with becoming a FDA registered medical device manufacturer, which is registering with the FDA, having a quality system, and incorporating all that becoming a validated milling center / contract manufacturer involves. But you can, that registration, that's it. So for example, if you are registered as a contract manufacturer, let's say with Meyerson for doing EMAs, that covers this as well. All right. But also I can go vice versa. If we register you to become a validated milling center, then we can add these appliances without increasing your fees for the FDA registration. It's a one fee that covers all of these and more. And this is the real true advantage that I see of becoming a validated milling center, is you can incorporate sleep appliances, surgical guides, orthodontic aligners, and other appliances simply by working with evo820, because we write that into your system and it's part of our fee and it's part of our service fee. There's no additional cost for it. We manage your registration with the FDA. We basically partner with you and become your conduit communication with the FDA. So there's a lot of communication and a lot of discussions about this digital dentures. And one of the things I want you to understand is that there is some FDA requirements with this. You can't just all of a sudden start manufacturing them in your laboratory. A lot of guys are, but then they're doing it illegally. So what the FDA has done is they've created a product code PZY. And if you recall, we go back to the product codes in the 510Ks that were NHA and PNP. Well, this is a PZY, which is these printed denture teeth. And it does require an implemented quality system to incorporate this into your laboratory processes. You can't just start doing it. Everything else is easy, okay? It is 510K exempt, so you don't need that. But all you have to do is get 510K cleared CAD and materials. That's easy. This is the part that really a lot of laboratories don't understand. And if they're proceeding onto that, they're operating illegally. So as a validated milling center, you can go right in to manufacture these types of appliances as a validated milling center. Going back to the conversation regarding unfinished devices versus finished devices, these components down here are unfinished. Obviously, the sleeves, the disc or the resin that you use to print or mill surgical guides, the FDA considers those as unfinished devices, and they're not finished devices until the dental laboratory modifies them and assembles them and creates the finished device. So you probably get it already. Yes, you do need to register with the FDA. I'm going back to the product classification. I like using information from the FDA because it gives my words validation. And this is for the product, another product code that makes no sense, I know. This is NDP, right here, product code NDP. It is a class 1 device, but that does not mean you can just manufacture these, because you can imagine the importance and the intended use of this. It guides the implant into place. So this is the most important statement down here. And for your eyes, I increase the size of it. Is that if a manufacturer's device falls into generic category of exempted class 1 devices as defined in Title 21 Code of Federal Regulation Part 862-892, a pre-market notification application or FDA clearance is not required before marketing the device in the US. However, those howevers always kept my attention. These manufacturers are required to register their establishments. Okay, so that means they fall outside of that exempted classification. Now, you may hear other consultants, and even the NADL says you don't, and they say they talk to the FDA. But I want to share with you is that you got to be careful with that, because the FDA, and I have sent them a letter, and the difference between the way the NADL presented their question to the FDA as I posed my question to the FDA regarding surgical guides is that the NADL presented it as a laboratory receiving occasional prescriptions for surgical guides, like maybe 4 a year. And then the FDA said, well, that isn't truly a commercialized product, so no, you don't need to register. My question to the FDA, and specifically to the dental division, was that a surgical guide is on the RX form, which is advertising and labeling, and they're promoting it and educating their client base that it is available as one of their services. That changed the answer from the FDA. And they basically, and I'll share the letter with you if you would like, I have it from the FDA, just as I did the letters from Andrew Steen. And it says it does require a management system. It requires that the lab register with the FDA. As I defined earlier, it is because it's an unfinished device assembly that creates the finished device. And even more importantly, it is critical in a safety issue for the patient that it's manufactured properly, because we're helping the surgeon place the implants in someone's head. So that is why that comes down. So I wanted to spend a little more time on that. Another thing is, this is, I have a number of laboratories that have come to me and said, hey, can I make orthodontic aligners? And I shared with them the FDA position, and they didn't like my answer, so they kind of hung up. But orthodontic aligners does require, here's another product code for you, NXC, and it does require a 510K. It is a class 2 device. And I want to share with you, as a validated milling center / contract manufacturer, or a registered medical device manufacturer, there is an incredible opportunity. And I love this for all my clients, and I share it with as many as I can, and many have taken advantage of it. But there's this company called EON, and they are an incredible manufacturer of orthodontic aligners. They're quick and they're easy to, and it just makes it so easy to add orthodontic aligners to your lab's offering when you're registered with the FDA, because it is required. But as an FDA registration facility, and you operate under a quality management system, then what you do is you sign up with them as a relabeler repackager, and they do everything for you. So this is what you get, but it's branded to your laboratory. And now, as a validated milling center / contract manufacturer, I can set this up for you simply by adding it to your registration, and it's free. Then you can start offering a complete, beautiful package orthodontic aligner to your doctors. All right. And these guys do everything. I love them. They do all of the treatment planning setup. They do all this. They offer your client's software that's branded to your laboratory. They do all the packaging and shipping back to you so that you deliver to your customers. And they also have a customer and client success rate that's incredible. So I've worked with these guys probably for 4 years now, and I'm extremely impressed on what they do for dental laboratories. And I'm sharing this with you because once you're FDA registered and you're doing your custom abutments, you can continue to add on to your offerings from your laboratory for class 2 medical devices, or those that require manufacturing, and promote your laboratory as an FDA registered medical device manufacturer. Right? This is so important because a lot of my clients, and we talk about marketing. Again, I've been in dentistry over 46 years, and we talk about how to separate themselves from the somewhat vanilla dental laboratories. And by being a registered with the FDA, it is 100% legal, and it's appropriate for you to register and promote your laboratory as an FDA registered medical device manufacturer. You are greatly enhanced over a dental laboratory. And so I strongly encourage all of my clients to promote themselves this way. I help them write their promotions. One is so that they're accurate, so that the FDA agrees with it and doesn't cause any issue there. But also we help customize it specifically and personalize it to that laboratory, to their services, their personalities, and their management team. So this is incredible, and for you to take advantage of this. And yes, there's a cost associated with registering, but by adding more offerings, by incorporating more appliances, more services, then you're sharing the cost of registration between multiple services, or basically, more importantly, revenue sources. So please consider that, and always consider taking the right partners, because we Zahn and Des and evo820, we're working together to collaborate and to customize a process for you that is really smooth to go through the FDA compliance process, but more so provide the best products that you need to become a validated milling center, and the best product to work with regarding your custom abutments and tie-based supported restorations. We're serious about it. Okay. May I please take a little more time to get into a more quality system regulations from the FDA. I think you'll find this extremely important because there's so much misinformation regarding the FDA and the QMS, and a lot of that comes from existing systems out there, which are very burdensome. And I want you to understand exactly what the FDA does require us within a quality management system and how that reflects on your laboratory. So I'm going back to the FDA slides. This is a quality system regulation, and it's right out of Title 21 Code of Federal Regulation 820, part of our name. And this is their definition. A quality system means an organizational structure, responsibilities, procedures, processes, and resources for implementing quality management. Now, this is the most important thing I can say to you. You're already there. You meet this definition by the FDA. You have an organizational structure. You certainly do. You have your management team. Everybody has their responsibilities as stated here. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do. You have existing procedures and processes, and you have resources for implementing quality, or you wouldn't be in business and you wouldn't want to grow because you were struggling just to get by. You guys are already there. So it's a very short step from here to becoming FDA compliant. So let's look at what the contents of the quality system under 820. So these are all the 7 subsystems of a quality system, as defined again by the FDA. You can see the middle hub of this is management. That's you guys. And you have it, and we work with you to clearly understand what those tasks are and then how to manage it and how to do it. And all of these subsections around it, you have a process whereby you do manage complaints. You have a production and process controls, certain equipment you use, you have certain materials that you use, and you certainly have design controls, even though the FDA considers what you guys do is not designs. And I'll explain that if there's a deeper conversation required by yourselves. This is what you're missing: the records and documentation. That is the area where you're deficient because you don't have the record keeping capability that is satisfactory to the FDA. And that's where we come in, we help you do that. But let's look at a little bit deeper of all of those subsections. And again, every medical device manufacturer, whether it's Medtronics, whether it's any of the orthopedic device manufacturing companies, they all operate under 820. So whether it's a CPAP or an insulin pump or a prosthetic hip, or it's our dental restorations, they're all under the same regulation. So here's the most important thing that you have to understand. This is, again, the best information I can give you to clarify things up about the FDA. There's no reason to fear these guys. The FDA, the question was put to the FDA and presented back to us by the FDA is how can the quality system regulations cover so many types of devices? One, and this is so important for us to understand, it's a flexible regulation. They do not give us a dictated recipe like the closed system on how we do it. It is flexible. It's up to you and me to write the quality system. The requirements for the system are in general terms. Okay, understand that. So they're broad and they're general. And each of the manufacturers, you guys shall establish and maintain a quality system that is appropriate for the specific medical device designed and appropriate. And we have to consider that the biggest thing that we have to take into account is, do we have a high risk for the patient? And this is my favorite slide. This is it. This is the one when I go into my audits with the FDA, I have this thing printed, framed, and sitting next to me, because this is the FDA statement that says, I know I'm getting passionate, aren't I? I love this slide. Bottom line, it's your quality system. A manufacturer must develop a quality system that's commensurate with the following: risk presented by the device to the patient. We don't kill people. And most of the devices that are not made to meet specifications aren't delivered. Their margins are short, their occlusion is high, whatever it might be, that if it's not adjustable chair side, it comes back. The patient is never at risk. And so that's a really important part, because we can really design a quality system, evo820, that addresses everything about satisfying the FDA in 820, but make it less burdensome and really manageable by a dental laboratory. We have to understand and be commensurate with the complexity of the device and the manufacturing processes, the extent of the activities to be carried out, and the size and complexity of the manufacturer. Listen, you guys, you're not Medtronics, and they get scrutinized by the FDA a lot. You're not Glidewell, just get back into our industry, and they're scrutinized by the FDA a lot. You're nowhere near that. Yes, you manufacture a lot of the same devices, except, Glidewell does implants and they do a lot of other things. But you guys do these dental restorations over and over again, and you know the extent of the activities to be carried out, and you are experts at this, and that is recognized. When discussions with the FDA about dental laboratories, they say the FDA, quote, "We recognize dental laboratories as being partners with dentists to service the patients with devices that they need to function." That is an incredible position to be with the FDA. So we can have a quality system light, right? To be least burdensome on your production, but at the same time, satisfy this FDA Title 21 Code of Federal Regulation Part 820. So that's what we do for you, is we put that together with your consideration. And how we do it, as you see in the pyramid, we start with standard operating procedures, and we describe what you are doing to assure consistent quality. And we use the same technique that the FDA does, where I want to tell you, these are flexible and they're broad, so that we don't tie you down to any specific procedure that is outside of what you're doing now. You don't have to change anything. And we write these in such a manner for you that you never have to address them. But once they're manufactured, they're pretty much static. And let's say, for example, if you become a validated milling center, then you start doing Meyerson EMAs. Okay, so where we don't make any modifications to the SOPs, what we do in the work instructions, which come next, is that's where we define how you are doing it now. That's where we get down to the bench level with you. You tell us what you're doing there. We write your work instructions that match what you're doing, or are going to match on how you do this new EMA you brought in, so that you never have to change anything that you're presently doing. All right. And that work instruction is also static. All right. It can be changed because technology may change, materials may change, but it's not something that needs to be addressed every single time. And it's very simple to approach. And we do write that with you. The next one, this is where you're short. The quality forms and the records. And that is where you document that you are doing it. All right, document that you are doing it. And that's where we create the quality forms. And that's where the quality system really comes into play. All right, that's where the digital version comes into play. And it's so much easier. It's so much more straightforward. So let me share with you one of my longtime clients, and who provided us with this quote. I'll let you read it. It doesn't take long. But that is exactly what we wanted to achieve with our quality system, is really come up with a digital version that is intuitive, and it does speed up the processes of documentation. And a lot of that is because within our quality system, it has a lot of drop-down menus that if your individuals that are doing the entries enter into a process to, let's say, to manage and enter in a maintenance on one of your mills, there's drop-down menus that they follow. That's it. They click their name, they click the date, they click on the task they did. They changed a tool, they changed a filter, they changed a fluid. It's already in there. They don't have to write anything. It's all in the computer, very straightforward. And it makes it so much simpler for them compared to the horrors that come from this kind of a quality system. And this is what I've audited for my clients over the last years until we launched the digital version. It's all analog, it's all hand entries. There's no searching, no sorting, there's no simple edits, and it's extremely burdensome because it takes a lot of people to manage this quality system. And this is why people don't like such things as DAMAS, or they don't like other quality systems that are pen and paper. Our system, what you just looked at on all of those binders, is right here. And By logging in and just looking at this, you can see the status of what's going on within your laboratory at a glance. And when I start digging into this, I get lost because literally I can take a couple hours just to dig through all of these things, because the subsections that you saw earlier in the slide with the wheel, we address all that here that needs to be addressed for you. So we take you from this, the analog world where it's handwritten. And by the way, this is from a complaint that the FDA requirement states that the documents are to be legible. And this would fail. And actually it did fail, and they received a citation, what's called a 483, which we spent a couple of days correcting the system, rewriting some policies, to work instructions to demonstrate to the FDA that we corrected it. So with us, this is the printed complaint form. So you go from this mess to this. And to fill this out takes minutes compared to hours where this process is tried to be understood and related. Okay. So here is what we've done. We've created a digital version where we involve everything that you're doing is satisfactory to the FDA. It is compliant with the FDA, but it gives you the ability of searching, which does not exist. It gives you opportunity to sort certain complaints to see what pieces of equipment are involving a lot of maintenance. Simple edits and printing everything as you saw on the complaints. So the system has a lot of power, it has a lot of accuracy, flexibility, capabilities, and simplicity, and we can customize it specifically to your operation. So the next thing that gives you a sense of security is that our analog quality system, which is now digital, it's the same, has been tested in now 15, we just went from 14 to 15 FDA audits, where our system was put before an FDA inspector. They ran through it and they found a minimal amount of observations, negative, like a citation, but it was not major. They were like, you missed a field, you didn't sign this thing, and there's a date missing on this form. Very easy to fix. So here's another testimonial from Raven, from Desktop Metal and Desktop Labs. You can read it. They, as you can see, converted from the analog to the digital version. Okay. And it is exactly what we attempted to do. We wanted to create visibility to a number of people who can do it from their desk. That's the remote capability. You can access our quality system from, yes, a PC, but also from a tablet or also from a mobile phone. So it gives you complete access to it, and no matter where you are. And simplicity, storing documents, and everything that we wanted to do, we made it easy and we made it fluid for them to make the modification. So that's the information I wanted to bring to you. And I know it was a lot. And I think I missed a survey or two. Fran, do you want to bring up a survey that I missed?
Yeah, so right now I'm going to bring up our last poll question, and bear with me on that.
And yeah.
And this is to let us know if you want to be contacted and to be able to go over in depth with Tim and his team how this process can get moving for you. Sounds about right?
Yeah. Yeah, we really appreciate that information, and we look forward to interact with you more. And to give you, while you're going over that, you can see on the slide, there's my name. And you know me pretty well by now, but you don't know Van Bowie. She is my lead trainer, and she spends a lot of time with our clients. And what we do is we do a major introduction on the quality management system to your team who's going to be involved in it. And that takes about 30 minutes to do. And then we break it down to about 6 or 7 different sessions where we focus specifically on the individual who's going to be in charge of managing the quality system. We call that individual the quality system representative. and the specific individual that's going to be involved in those responsibilities. So for example, if we're going to talk about managing your equipment, we speak to those people who are playing the engineer, who's doing the calibrations, who's doing the maintenance tasks. We don't bring everybody in because I don't want to disrupt your production. And we go through that, and then we stay with you. For example, I had mentioned expanding your services. We manage your registration with the FDA. So if you need to add anything, this is what we do. We know how to go in there and in a matter of minutes, adding sleep appliances, adding orthodontic aligners, adding services as a repackager, relabeler, and we work with you, we hang with you. We literally become your team partner. So I look forward to hearing the results on that.